Today, we're going to unpack something fascinating: the modern business playbook. And believe it or not, this is a journey that can start with something as simple as a bumper sticker and end up with, well, the massive responsibilities of a global corporation. So, really, how does that happen? How does a simple bumper sticker turn into a multi-million-dollar business? You might think it's some kind of magic, but it's not. It's actually a fascinating mix of a single idea, some really perfect timing, and, a person who's willing to take a huge, huge risk. So let's meet that person. His name is John Fisher, and our story really kicks off right after that, let's just say, contentious 2000 US presidential election. He goes and creates this bumper sticker that just says, "He's not my president." And boom, it becomes this massive hit. It literally launched a company that would end up being worth millions. Okay, so what did he actually create here? Well, at its core, it's a business. And I know we hear that word all the time, but let's just break it down. All it really means is an organization, any organization, that's trying to make a profit by giving people something they want. It could be a physical product, like a sticker, or it could be a service. And the fuel for that business engine? That's profit. It's actually a pretty simple formula when you think about it. You take all the money you bring in from selling your stuff, we call that revenue, and then you subtract all the money you had to spend to make and sell it, your costs. And whatever's left over at the end of the day, yep, that's your profit. But, and this is a big but, here's the catch: profit is never a guarantee, right? People like John Fisher, entrepreneurs, they're taking a massive risk. They're putting their own time, their own money on the line with absolutely no certainty that it's going to work out. And that right there is the fundamental trade-off in business. The bigger the risk you're willing to take, the bigger the potential reward could be. Now, it's important to remember, not every organization is in it for the money. You've got not-for-profits, right? A great example is Team Rubicon. They use military vets to help with disaster relief. Their goal is completely different. For them, the bottom line isn't about dollars and cents. It's about achieving their social mission. It really all comes down to purpose. Okay, so let's say you have your big idea. You get the whole profit and risk thing, you're ready to go. But no business, not even Sticker Giant, gets to operate in a vacuum. It exists in this really complex, constantly changing world. I like to think of it as the game board, where every single business has to play. And on this board, there are all these forces that a company just can't control, but they have to react to them. We're talking about everything from the economy, political shifts, new laws, even just changing social attitudes. Any one of these can completely change the rules of the game overnight. So success isn't about trying to control these things, because you can't. It's all about being nimble and smart enough to adapt. And to show you just how powerful one of these forces can be, I want you to just look at this number: 75 million. Just let that sink in for a second. So what is that? That is the number of millennials in the US. They're now the largest generation, and because of their unique values, their totally different shopping habits, they have forced pretty much every company to completely rethink how they do marketing, what products they make, and even what their social mission is. That, my friends, is a demographic shift in action. It's huge. All right, so a business has to deal with this big external world. But inside that world, every market has its own, let's call it internal physics, its own set of rules. And the most fundamental law of all, like the gravity of the whole system, is supply and demand. So first up, let's talk demand. It's really simple. It's just how much of something people are willing to buy. And the logic here is super intuitive, right? The cheaper something is, the more of it people are going to want. Makes sense. Then, on the flip side of that coin, you've got supply. This is how much of that thing a business is willing to make and sell. And here, the logic is totally reversed. The higher the price they can sell it for, the more motivated they are to make more of it. And this is where the real magic of a market happens. You have these two forces, supply and demand, and they meet and they do this little dance. They push and they pull until they find a balance. If there's not enough of something, a shortage, the price gets pushed up. If there's too much of it, a surplus, the price gets pushed down. And that perfect sweet spot right in the middle, we call that equilibrium. It's the price that the market just naturally agrees on. Okay, so let's say a business has all that down. They get the finances, they understand the world they're in, they know the basic rules of the market. But is that really enough anymore? I mean, in today's world, is that enough to build a company that truly lasts? And, well, the answer is increasingly no. Success also depends on ethics.
And listen, ethics can sound really complex, but a lot of the time, recognizing what's unethical just comes down to the basics we all learned as kids, right? Taking things that aren't yours, lying, tricking people, or just standing by and letting other people do those things.
But here's the thing. Being ethical isn't just about not doing bad stuff. The really great companies today, they're aiming higher. They're defining a positive purpose for themselves. You know, take a company like Hasbro, the toy company. Their official goal isn't just make as much money as possible, it's to help make the world a better place for children of all ages. That's a different game entirely. This whole idea is captured really well in something called the Pyramid of Corporate Social Responsibility. You might hear it called CSR. And what it shows is that, yeah, being profitable is the foundation. You have to be profitable to even exist, but that's just the base. On top of that, a truly successful company has to obey the law, it has to act ethically, and at the very top, it strives to be a good corporate citizen. And please, don't make the mistake of thinking this is just some fluffy, feel-good theory. No way. Companies are putting serious money behind this. A truly staggering amount of money, actually. That's how much the Fortune 500, the biggest companies in the world, spend every single year on these CSR activities. So this has gone from being some little niche idea to being a core part of how businesses think and operate. And where does all that spending go? It's directed at all of a company's stakeholders. Now that's just a fancy word for everyone a business has a responsibility to. We're talking about its employees, giving them a safe place to work, its customers, being honest with them, society as a whole, protecting the environment, and yep, even its investors, because more and more, they want to see long-term sustainable value, not just quick profits. And that brings us full circle and leads to one final big question. We started this whole journey with one simple bumper sticker, and we've ended up talking about the complexities of the global economy. So as we look ahead, you really have to wonder, are we heading into a future where what a company stands for is actually more important than what it sells? That's definitely something to chew on.